Alrighty, guys, welcome in to another video here on the Living Deadwax channel, and we're doing a little side content here. We're going to talk a little bit about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, everybody's favorite Cleveland, Ohio institution. Certainly isn't the Browns.
Canton. Well, it's like Canton.
That's not. Yeah, that's not. This is a separate place, different place.
You could tell me that Canton was right outside Cleveland, or you can tell me it's 1,000 miles away. I wouldn't have no way of knowing. It's unknowable to me.
I want to say it's like 50 miles or so.
Okay, so it's a healthy enough distance. All right, so I'm gonna still go Canton.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, Canton is also the NFL Hall of Fame. It's also in Ohio. But I would say Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that's everybody's favorite institution. And they always spark some controversy. The nominees were announced. So Tyler, did you take a look at the nominees?
So I recall most of them. I probably forgot some. I recall the ones that we're going to bring up here for sure. But rattle them off to me, my friend.
Yeah, well, let's pull it up here. We can go through kind of the whole nominees. Let's kind of give our takes, and I'll give my take. We can show the current standings of the fan vote, which I find very interesting. But let's take a look here. So, in the nominees are A Tribe Called Quest.
All right, I guess.
Kate Bush.
I don't know. I guess.
My thing with Kate Bush is like, are you only getting nominated because of Stranger Things?
I've seen enough people like that, like enough, I don't know, music people go, like, I've been waving the Kate Bush flag for years, and now I got the newcomers coming in with the Stranger Things love. But I'm with you. She was a big deal. I don't know how big of a deal she was besides, whatever, but people smarter than me, I guess, nominated her. So there you go. I don't know.
I understand that she's like a big person. I'm not knocking her at all.
Yeah.
My point is, though, they want press and coverage.
Yeah.
And she was one of the biggest artists in the world last year. She had some of the 100%. She was one of the most streamed artists in the world last year because of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So, like, if you looked at plays of running up that hill before and post, like, it's ridiculous. I can't remember the numbers, but it's crazy.
Trillion%.
So my point is, like, is this nomination strictly because of that? I'm not going to say strictly, but probably heavily inspired. Sheryl Crow, which I find just like the most milquetoast fucking nomination ever. Like, nothing against Sheryl Crow, but it's like, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody say, yep, Sheryl Crow. She's my fucking
exactly.
Influence.
Everybody else on this list, I guess not Kate Bush, because I really haven't talked about Kate Bush that much in my life, to be honest with you. Besides the fact that she exists. But Tribe Called Quest, Missy Elliott, like, I know those people exist. Massive fans, like, they're very influential and this and that. I know that. I know people say that constantly about both artists, right? I don't know if I've ever heard about Sheryl Crow where somebody goes, you know what? I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Sheryl Crow. I don't think I've ever heard that.
Not me either. Me either.
Yeah.
Missy Elliott, obviously a big name in hip hop, huge name.
I'll trust the other people that know way more about that than me. I don't know anything. Yeah.
Iron Maiden should have been in years ago.
Like 15 years
ago. Obviously, I'm a huge Maiden fan. It'd be cool to see him go in. They're not going to go. I guarantee it. They have not posted anything about this.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
So they're literally not going to go. As far as I know, they have not posted. Now, I'm not on Facebook anymore or whatever, but on Instagram, they're nothing.
Okay.
Joy Division, New Order. I totally can buy this. To me, that's a good nom. I'm not into Joy Division, New Order, but I understand how influential they are.
Absolutely.
Or were.
Yeah.
Cyndi Lauper. Sure. I guess. George Michael.
Why wouldn't you put her in, like, super? Like, I would assume Cyndi Lauper would have went in, like, not many years ago, but like 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know. Whenever, like, she kind of became was able to go in. Like, I don't know why she would be held back this long. If we're putting in a lot of the people we put in previously, like, just seems like a weird deal to me. But that's just me. And I understand that you need to, piece this out every year. So you don't want to put in all these people at once. You need guys to headline every year. or
Mhm.
Dallas headline every year. But yeah, regardless, she should have been for whatever you're going for. Cyndi Lauper's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like that's
I
what it is.
guess, but like, we're doing this off 2 records? Like, she has 2 records.
I mean, she has like a massive catalog of people like love that shit. Like I don't know really anything.
I
I
understand, but
don't
like, we're
know.
talking about the biggest, most influential. Like, to me, you either have to have buku sales and like
Yeah.
many runs of like platinum records, or you have to be massively influential to like a
Yeah.
scene, something, like Joy Division, New Order. You know what I'm saying? So I think George Michael, okay. I don't know.
So back to Cyndi Lauper, because we don't know these things.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just looking this up. 50 million records.
Okay. Yeah, but I bet you she's so unusual is like more than half.
Okay, let's see here.
It's probably
So
that and like a greatest hits.
16 million.
It's a good chunk. And then you could throw in like greatest hits in there. I'm
You
not
got True
knocking
Colors.
her.
I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
George Michael. I don't know. Willie. Okay.
I guess. Yeah. Like I still like I understand like no one wants to have this conversation every year less than I do. So I understand like I like this is not rock and roll. I get it. Like all this shit, whatever. But why are you putting in Willie Nelson now and not 30 years ago when he first became like eligible, right? Like I don't know what we're doing. It just seems really interesting to me that you're doing it now if you've always kind of felt this way, I guess, whatever. But again, Willie Nelson should have went in 30 years ago if that's what you want to do. If you want to make Willie
Yeah.
Nelson 30 years ago, he was as influential then as he is now. Not to knock Willie, but I don't think he's getting more influential in the last 30 years than he was previous 30 years.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah, and pop artists altogether, whatever. But okay,
Rage. Nominated again, like the
Yeah.
3rd or 4th year in a row.
Yeah.
So interesting that they haven't got in yet. And then Soundgarden nominated again.
Wow.
Same kind of thing as Rage. It's like I don't understand. I really don't understand.
Put them in or don't. So don't put them on the ballot if you're not going to put them in. Like I don't understand it. Like I understand,
weird.
but just like I don't want these bands because we already talked about a few weeks ago, or whatever. When Priest got in, I hate the fact the bands are getting in like those kind of bands, like metal bands or whatever the fuck, like any alternative band, whatever. I don't want them to get in as like a fucking as an influential like award or whatever, influence or like masters of their craft or whatever their award was.
Yeah,
that's bullshit. Yeah, it's bullshit. Like, no, you put them in as a full nomination, just like you look anybody else, and you vote them in. Like, I don't know what we're talking about. Judas Priest, you should have voted him in. And I understand that metal or harder music is not for a lot of folks that I guess vote on that shit. It seems insane to me at this point, given the fact that, 35 years on from the first Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, there's been enough voters here that have had 30 years of heavy music that you don't think that the vast majority of it is for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at this point. It just seems weird to me. And we're not even talking about straight up metal bands here. We're talking about Soundgarden, who has one of the most melodic, beautiful voices of all time as a fucking front person, obviously, in the music and everything else too. And then you have Rage, which is obviously just a massive rap rock band. So they're also not necessarily heavy in that way. They're built out of hardcore roots, I suppose, obviously, and and everything else. But like, it just makes me upset that we have to have these conversations because these bands are in. Like, these bands should be in. This is not a debate. This is not anything.
Yes, you also have Nirvana and Pearl Jam in. Why is Soundgarden struggling to get in? It makes zero fucking sense.
Well, it's like that. It's like I think we talked about it many years ago, but like we thought that about Metallica, and that's been pretty much true. Like essentially pretty true. Like you need to check a box once, and they put in Sabbath, and then obviously Sabbath, but like maybe Sabbath is not thought about as metal band. Sabbath is thought about as Sabbath, I guess, right? You can do that, right? So then the only other metal band that you ever really put in, like metal band that you're putting in is Metallica. So that's the only one you're putting in. You're not going to consider Megadeth or Slayer or Anthrax or any of the other heavy bands that existed over the years. Priest.
But Priest
Like
isn't in.
Maiden.
They're in, but not in.
Yeah,
The
like you're
Spinners.
not going to consider these from now on. Sure. Fucking
Yeah, I
White
don't know.
Stripes. Get the
White
fuck out
Stripes.
of here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't hate the White Stripes, and I think they should be on the list, whatever, right? There's squillions of fans, and they sold a squillion records, and they're a big rock band. I understand that they were never my taste. But to my mind, I don't know, this is not true. Maybe you've read this. I assume this is their first year being eligible. Their
I would
first
imagine,
year of
yeah.
eligibility. And I would still, right now today, say they have a much, much better chance going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the White Stripes, than Iron Maiden does, or Rage does, or Soundgarden does, or
Yeah.
most bands, because they fall into the certain whatever the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame wants to have on there, which is they want to make it so diverse and shit, and they want to put on artsy rock bands, and that they go in. It might take a few times for some, but I feel the White Stripes are a big enough deal, and it'll be a very big cash A event for them if they were to be able to pull off a White Stripes reunion at the Hall of Fame. Be a massive deal if they were to do that among the cool people, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Warren Zevon. I don't know much about Warren Zevon, so I'm not going to say like yay or nay, obviously, on that. My whole kind of point. What?
You wrote one of the saddest songs ever. That's all I know. I don't know anything else about Warren Zevon. I just know he has a song in a video that I cry about. So there you go.
All right. Good job. Good for him. Made you cry.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know, man. It's real weird. Like you said, I don't really understand how Soundgarden has to be on the ballot 5-6 times. Same thing with Rage. Same thing with Iron Maiden. Like Iron Maiden's the first time on the ballot, actually, I think. They've been eligible for like 15 years or some shit.
Yeah, 100%.
I really don't get it. Also, I get it. The rock and roll part of this doesn't really matter anymore. I would say half of these artists are even rock artists.
Yeah.
Some of these artists aren't even guitar music anymore. So like, let's just call it the Pop Music Hall of Fame or the Music Hall of Fame. Like it's real. You get into weird semantics with that, I know. But like, if I want to have a rock and roll Hall of Fame, and I'm gonna nominate Soundgarden, like I'm gonna put Soundgarden in, like you said, before I put the White Stripes in. There's an order of things that you should do it, and they clearly just do not give a shit. So, anything else you want to add on to the nominees here before I want to show the fan results, which I find very interesting too?
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm over, like, the argument of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, over it, whatever. Like, yeah, if they would have done it as the Pop Music Hall of Fame or the Music Hall of Fame or whatever, like, or the American Music Hall of Fame, I don't even know. I don't know what. I don't care. But, like, if that was to be a thing, obviously this conversation would be a lot easier. And like for the last 35 years, be a lot easier. We're going, Tribe Called Quest. Yeah, there you go. But I remember when I think Run DMC was the first Rock and Roll Hall of Fame like rap artist to go in. I believe it was like 2003 or 4 or something like that. We were still kids, and I remember maybe it was like Public Enemy, but I think it was Run DMC. Anyway, regardless, but I remember the commercials were like, and you say that's not rock and roll. They're pretty rock and roll with, their attitude and what they did and this and that, right? But it was not the music itself, but like just them as like as like a force or whatever, right? Very rock and roll. Like, I don't know. Then we're getting into like cool, like they're cool, like they were like renegades and like they were like badass, like they did this and that and they did that. Like, so it's not even rock and roll now, it's like a mindset thing, which I guess you could argue rock and roll is a mindset. But it's just, I don't know, it's just weird because we're talking about music, but whatever.
Stupid. Yeah, I'm not really arguing the semantics of it. I just find it really interesting still.
Yeah. With you.
If I had my guess right now, I don't know how many they're going to pick. I would say Kate Bush. Probably Missy Elliott.
Yeah.
Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, you're going to put all of them? Okay.
And Willie. Those will be who will get in.
George Michael,
Maybe
though.
Maybe George Michael.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Yes. Like, I think those will be the actual nominees. Maybe if you want to be like, put in the one cult under, you'll put in Joy Division, New Order.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know. I would like to believe that that's not entirely what's going to happen, but I'm not. I would not be surprised if Soundgarden and Rage obviously don't get it in, and Maiden for that matter. I would not be surprised if none of the 3 of those, will get in.
Who do you think has the most votes? Fan votes.
Fan votes?
Yes.
Shit. All of them have massive fan bases. I would say it's probably like George Michael, or it could be Maiden, I guess. Those are my 2.
All right, one you're pretty close, the other you're way off.
Okay, cool.
Here's the current fan votes.
There you go. Okay. There you go.
So yeah, Maiden here, not even cracking the top 5, which they haven't advertised this at all. Like if they would have advertised this, they would have been like, because they're a bigger band than Judas Priest. They have more of a social media following. They still do massive tours, bigger than Priest does. Nothing against Priest. I love Priest. Maiden's the bigger band.
They're different levels.
Bar none.
At this point.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. They were fucking different bands in 1985 too. There were different levels there too. Sorry, not fucking sorry. All right, I love fucking Priest. I love Judas Priest, but like, come on. These fan votes are really interesting to me. Cyndi Lauper, it will definitely get in. That's why I'm saying Cyndi Lauper will get in. George Michael will definitely get in. I don't even think Soundgarden will get in, even being in the top 5. It sucks.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if that's kind of the vote there. I really wouldn't. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it sucks. Like, because I really didn't care about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like, I care. I mean, I did. I care about it as as much as someone does, I guess. But like, the only time I got really, really stoked and really excited is when Nine Inch Nails got in, obviously. And then that was the COVID year, so that sucked because they didn't get to do the whole thing, which was the worst. Like, I hated it so much because I was like, the one time that my favorite band or one of my favorite bands gets accepted into the mainstream or whatever the hell, of critics or whomever, that's fucking cool. I like that.
Sure.
But like, not to say that they're my bands, but I like Soundgarden, I like Rage, I do like them quite a bit, right? So it's like, it'd be very cool to see them get in. But I'm just not surprised when they don't, I guess. I was surprised when Nine Inch Nails got in, but I know that Trent's like an industry darling, so whatever.
I would be very stoked if Iron Maiden got in. I would be even more stoked if they all went and actually did it cool, because to me it would just turn into a Maiden show, basically just when like Rush went in. I've been excited like 3 times. Rush, Journey, and then when the Cars went in a few years ago, that was really cool because they were outside of that. Was Rick was still alive, so that was really cool. But less big deal. Rush was obviously just a Rush show. It was insane. And then Journey was obviously a big deal too because all the guys were back. It was the first time Steve was on stage with. Obviously, he didn't sing, but it's the first time on stage with those guys in whatever amount of years, 20 plus years, whatever. So very cool to see that stuff. I'd be stoked if Iron Maiden got in. I'd be absolutely ecstatic if Soundgarden got in as well. Those are my 2 horses there, obviously. Do I think either of them are going to happen? No.
No.
So
not at all, man.
Well,
I think that I don't know. It's weird, right? Like, because the idea supposedly from like Trunk, for example, that's my inside source to the rock music scene here, right? So I listened to Trunk, and I remember the first year that Rage got nominated, which is like a handful of years ago, and they've gotten nominated, like you said, like a few times since then too. I remember Trunk, like the assumption was that Rage was going in first ballot because Tom Morello's on the committee. He's on the literal committee, like the one that sends up the nominees. He's on that committee, but also he's like an industry guy too. Like all the, like he's also not that he's not Dave Grohl rock guy, but he does a lot of shit for people in the movies and like with TV shows and all that stuff. He does a lot of that stuff. So like, and he's like in a lot of like interviews and all that stuff, whatever, about rock music and stuff, whatever, right? So like, the assumption was that Rage was going to go in pretty quickly, and then now they're on episode 4 of it, and it just seems super weird that's the case because like, I don't know, like I want to say they're very influential in a lot of bands, like not to say Soundgarden isn't, but like their certain sound is, for better or worse, a sound that a lot of bands tried in certain ways. Not that they were nu metal, but they definitely were. Them, and like I know like Faith No More also gets thrown in there too, like a bunch of nu metal like people, but like that stuff gets traced. But like they kind of dominated the next 10 years or so after they came out with like their sound at a certain point. Just a different take on it. It's like they're very influential. They're industry people, thought they get in, but they still haven't either, which is still, like I said, super surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm taking a look. I can't remember when they actually formally announce it. I'm trying to find it. But I know it's usually. Yeah, I know it's usually. I think it's usually like a month or two after the nominees get announced. So
yeah.
So it'll be coming soon. Process through you can vote through April 28th. So probably May. It's probably when they announce it. So we'll see. It's always interesting to me. It always sparks a fun conversation about who deserves it and who not. That's always fun to debate. It's
and
a
then
weird.
I was saying the ceremony itself is a weird deal too. Like it's gone off without a hitch a lot of times, obviously, right? But like for certain bands, like the highlights for me, like obviously there's a handful of performances that are a huge deal and stuff, right? Because they're who went in. But like also like we talk about it not all the time, but a fair amount of time. Like Guns N' Roses was fucked up, Van Halen was fucked up, Journey fucked up, Kiss fucked up. Like all that shit was weird.
Journey wasn't really fucked up. It's just like Steve didn't sing with them. Everybody else is fine.
And that's fair, but like the conversation was like, Steve's gonna sing with them, right? Well, no. Is Steve gonna sing? Well, we don't. Probably not. Is Steve? That's the conversation, right? It was more dominated around that than it was like whatever else. So it's like that's more the stuff we hear about more than anything else. And these are bands that if they got in, I think Rage would go, Soundgarden would go, and I don't know who does vocals, but whomever wants to do vocals, they get that guy. And then, you get Maiden down there too, if they ever would want to do that, which obviously I just checked and their Facebook still has no posts about it. So like if they're not posting about it on social media, they're not going to post about it. Yeah.
They're not going.
So they're not going. Exactly.
That's probably why they won't get in. That probably will be a big deal. I'm sure that plays a part in it.
It's where if they don't almost.
If they don't want to put you in, like Guns N' Roses, they have to put in. Van Halen, they have to put in. But if they don't want to put you in and you will not go, they just won't put you in.
Yeah, they don't acknowledge you.
Yeah.
Like, it's you made your bed at that point, right? And you're going to have to lie in it. Like, not that they give a shit, but like fans, I guess, of certain bands, It's like, what's like Trent got in a year after he did, because for years, he just said what a lot of musicians say, right? Like, this doesn't really, I don't know. Okay. Like, I don't care about this thing. Like if it happens, okay. But I'm in no way, shape, or form taking this seriously. And so Trent felt like that forever. And he would say that several times in interviews. And then The Cure asked him to be their presenter or whatever, right? Or their nominator or whatever it was, right? Before he does the speech before they come out. So The Cure wanted him to do that and he did it. And then he kind of like turned a new leaf and he was like, for years, in his speech, he's like, for years, I thought this place and this whole thing was stupid and just things we should be striving for. And I never cared about it, whatever, this and that. But he's like, over this last week or so, and I've been, kind of experiencing this, with people and, whatever, and going through the whole ride. It's kind of changed my perspective on it. I understand that it's a big deal for a lot of people and a lot of fans care about it a lot. So, in that way, I'm glad that I'm here and presenting this to my, to The Cure and whatever else. And then the next year nominated an in. So he gave you an indicator basically for years that he was never going to attend. Therefore, you don't nominate him. And then the year after he goes, I kind of like this whole thing. Going to put him in immediately because he's going to show up. So like, I think that's kind of how it works. Like award shows the same way. Like a lot of them, maybe not the ones that matter, but like a lot of them, this is the MTV shit, all that kind of stuff is like, well, is so-and-so going to come? No, they're not coming. Okay, we'll give it to the other guy. Like that's the way a lot of shit works. So like, they're kind of bringing it over here because for better or worse, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't matter at all. Like it doesn't get you paid more. Your booking fees don't go up. No. Like none of that shit fucking matters. No, so I don't, it's weird. Yeah, you're right.
It's a whole weird thing, but it always spurs some fun conversation. So that's why I figured we'd bring it up here on the channel. But anyways, guys, we appreciate you watching this stuff. If you appreciate music content, vinyl content, check us out, subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff. We have a main podcast that drops every Monday, so you can check that out as well. And anyways, guys, we will see you next time here on the channel. Peace.